Good morning. How are you, Christine? Well, there are a few other people who signed up, and hopefully they'll be able to see it live. But if not, whether they're coming or not, I'm going to start. I'm not going to wait for more people to trickle in. We set this for 9:30, so let's get started. I am super excited for you to be here. I shied away from doing actual financial money stuff because that's not really the 100% the focus. Oh, okay, I see you. Go ahead and use the chat as you need to. So the So Money Society is not really about money. And the reason why it's not about money is because success isn't about the money. It's about feeling awesome and feeling like your life is just right. But the thing is that after running the society for a while and sort of avoiding the money topic, I realized that it is sort of about the money. I mean, let's just be honest. So I have started to be a lot more transparent about my personal financial success and where I want to go. And hopefully it will inspire and teach other people as well. Now, unlike other coaches who specialize specifically in money, in investing or budgeting or any of those financial aspects, who I believe if you're going to get coached by one of those women, that they should actually be successful specifically in money. I am successful, but in my opinion, as probably every ambitious woman feels, I'm not successful enough. So we're all learning together when it comes to money, but I definitely have a lot of things to teach that will help you along the way as well. This masterclass is how to find $1,000 even if you're an ambitious woman with no time. This masterclass is for you if that you wish that you just had that extra grand or maybe more, and it feels like you really don't have the options then except your job, the one you currently have, and you can't really change your job or think about other options because you don't really have any more time because you have your job and you depend on it for your salary. So you're sort of between a rock and a hard place. Like, well, how do I get more money? But at the same time, how do I really enjoy my job? And a lot of times women are actually really, really good at what they do. And initially they really loved it. And maybe there's parts of it that you love, but maybe the quality is not the way that you want it, or the people around you aren't exactly what you want. And because of that, you're sort of dredging through this job. And really the linchpin is the fact that you're getting paid. Maybe at the same time, you hate it in some way, maybe a lot, maybe a little, and you really have no control over that cash flow that's you're getting. And, you could ask for a raise or you could work overtime. But besides that, especially if it's a salaried job or if you're a partner, then you don't really have that much control because you're in a group setting and you're being dictated as to what to do. And maybe that you fear that money will run out and that you won't be able to pay your bills. Even if you have enough money right now, you might still feel like, when is this going to run out? And then I'm going to be stuck and I'm going to not be able to support my family and myself, and I'm not going to be able to do the things that I love. And then I'm going to feel anxious and overwhelmed. And then I'm going to turn to drugs. And then I'm going to live under a bridge and everyone will hate me. So if you feel any of those things, then you are in the right place. I have met a lot of people over my life, and even particularly lately, as I've been talking more about this masterclass, who feel like they're totally good. They feel completely satisfied when it comes to money and their job, and they don't need any more help. And if that is you, then you probably might not enjoy this masterclass. But I offer that if that is you, then you can keep an open mind and see if there's anything new that you gather from my presentation. All of these thoughts have one thing in common. They're all bullshit. You don't have to think or feel any of these thoughts or feelings about money. And honestly, if you're on this call and I know who you are, I'm pretty sure that you're doing pretty well financially and that you're just fine. If you don't know me, I'm Johanna B. Moore. I was an Ohio State varsity athlete. I swam for Ohio State for 4 years. And in my 4th year, I was the team captain. And then I moved on to Boston and I did my residency at Massachusetts General Hospital, which is a Harvard affiliated hospital. And I got my dream residency and was super excited. And then I even became the chief resident. And now I am a triple boarded physician. I'm boarded in anatomic and clinical pathology. So I am a lab medicine specialist and I look at slides underneath the microscope. And I also am a dermatopathologist, and dermatopathology is one of the hardest fellowships to get in pathology. I am a regional lab director and I'm a pathologist, and I've been working for about 10 years in private practice. I am also the mother of twins. They are 8 years old, and I think that they're going to be able to keep themselves alive now. So I'm starting to be able to focus on more things than just keeping them alive. With full disclosure, my current net worth is about $500,000. So not a millionaire, not spectacular, but at the same time, pretty good. I want to start by telling you a story of when I was crying in the bathroom while brushing my teeth with my husband. I was crying because I felt completely trapped. I was in a job that I thought was going to be the job of my life, and it hadn't turned out the way I'd expected it. It hadn't turned out that way financially. I was promised a dream of, you will become a partner in 4 years, you will pay off your house in 5. Everything will be unicorns and rainbows, and you'll never have to worry about money again. And this was verbatim what someone told me. You will never have to worry about money again. And unfortunately, I was always worried about money. And I had a pretty good salary, but I had expected a much bigger salary. And so I was always waiting for that next bonus that was going to take me to where I needed to be, where I wanted to be, and where I expected to be. And I was making some choices that were not conservative when it came to buying things, investing in things at that time. What made things worse was that I felt like my bosses did not have my back, did not understand my situation at all. Most of them were white men, and a lot of them were much, much older than me and had made a lot of their money in the 80s and 90s when reimbursement in medicine was very high. Um, and the closest person to me was someone who was 10 years older than me, who had been a part of the sale of the practice. And so was pretty much financially free at that time. And because they were all in a different place than I was, they had no desire to help me figure out how I was going to get to where they were. And I felt very alone, and I felt deceived, and I felt like I had no choice but to continue feeling miserable about my situation and feeling sorry for myself. And it was really sad because I feel like I had worked my entire life and done everything right and calculated everything in order to get to that very same point that I was in. And it hadn't turned out the way I had expected. And if any of you feel that way, maybe your story is not as drastic as mine was, but I feel for you. And I want you to know that with a little change in the things that you are doing and the mindset that you have, you can completely revolutionize the situation that you're in. The amazing thing is that shortly after that period of time, when I was crying with my husband in the bathroom, I made a decision. I came to a moment in my life where I decided that I didn't want to cry anymore about it in front of my husband and not get the support that I wanted, which was, don't worry, I'll take care of you and we'll win the lotto and everything will be amazing. I decided that I had to take matters into my own hand and that I needed to do a little adulting, self-parenting, and I needed to figure out how to make things the way I wanted them to be made. In light of that, I want to tell you that I truly believe that all women should know how to ditch distracting and disempowering thoughts, create stability and security from within, from yourself, and make decisions that powerfully spread more optimism, love, joy, growth, and giving in this world. I want you to be in a situation where if there is somebody else like me and you are a partner or you are a manager, that you actually are in a situation yourself, a point of stability where you can bring hope and optimism and good education to that person so that they can grow and create what they want as well. And I think, in my opinion, that women and people who are socialized as women in our society are at the perfect position to be able to do that. And that is why I founded She Is Money. And that is why I run the So Money Society, because I believe that every woman that I can help be in charge of her own mind and be in charge of her own destiny and her own dreams, that woman can then help a million other people to get their dreams as well. And one of the greatest distractions in most people's lives is the drama that we create around money. So to ditch that distraction, we need to update our strategy and we need to update our mindset. You guys agree? Yes. Okay, so let's get started. This is a no fluff, action-oriented mastermind. I want you to initially think about your mindset. So you could have a fixed mindset or you could have a growth mindset. And whether you are in a good place financially right now or not, I want you to open up your mind and collect a growth mindset, because even if you've heard all of this before, which some of the things I'm sure you have, I mean, I didn't invent the wheel in order to talk about trying to find $1,000. I want you to keep an open mind and remember that you don't know everything. Carol Dweck is one of the leading thought leaders about growth mindset. She says that in a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just the starting point. This view creates a love of learning and a resilience that's essential for great accomplishment. And once I embodied this, it really changed a lot of my growth. It became exponentially better. And the fact of the matter is that no matter how much we learn, it's just our own story. And there's always some other thing that you didn't even think existed that's out there. And there's actually a story of the black swan. I don't know if you've ever heard this. There are some companies that have adopted the name black swan. And the reason why it's such a powerful symbol is because in the Middle Ages, people believed that there was no such thing as a black swan. There were only white swans. And then in Africa or Australia or somewhere remote, somebody actually found that there are black swans. And what they realized is that they didn't even know that that was a possibility. They just assumed that it was not. And we don't want to do that in our lives. We always want to make sure that we leave a little space open for the impossible to be there. A growth mindset's dependent on two thought paradigms. The first is the knowledge that you don't know it all. And the second is the faith that you can grow into anything you put your mind to. And that is the most exciting and amazing part. The reason why is because when you believe that you can do something, then you can actually get started doing that. And it's not like, a lot of times people talk about positive mindset and just believe that you can. And that in the end is just bullshit. You can't believe something that you don't really think is true, but you can always have the faith that you can figure out how. And that leads me to one of my favorite thought leaders, Vishen Lakiani. He is the founder of Mind Valley, which is an educational platform, a self-development educational platform. And he says the key to being extraordinary is knowing what rules to follow and what rules to break. A lot of the reasons why we don't believe that something is possible is because we're following a paradigm that someone has taught us, that we've learned over time, or that we've experienced ourselves. And the thing is that a lot of these rules that we're following aren't actually true. And he coined this term that I really like called rules. Rules are bullshit rules or thoughts that you've taken on over time and aren't true. They no longer serve you. And once you realize that there are all these rules all around you that you're following that may not necessarily be true, it's like the most freeing thought that, oh my gosh, like I believe that this is the way that things are. But what if they weren't? What if I could actually make $1,000 or find $1,000 or $10,000 or $1 million? I think about it in the terms of Yoda when he's talking to, when he's trying to explain that the force isn't about size. And Luke Skywalker is trying to pull his ship out of the swamp and he can't because it's too big. And Yoda tells him that size doesn't matter, that it's the thought, the power of the thought. And then Yoda like lifts the spaceship out of the swamp, even though he's a tiny little old green person. So this brings us to our thoughts about money. What makes it feel so bad for you to open up your bank account and look at your money, or open up your credit card and look at your money, or talk to your financial planner? Why does that feel bad? Even if you're in a good situation. Like I said, I, am positive when it comes to the worth of my worth. And I have, a 401k that looks pretty good. But for some reason, for many years, I was really scared to look at that. I never looked at my 401k. Why? I had 20, 40, 50, 80, 100 more $1,000 there. Like, why would I be afraid to look at that? And the reason why it feels so bad is because of your thoughts. So my thought at that time was, what if it disappeared? What if it's not there anymore? What if I lost it all? What if I'm doing this wrong? So you could believe that you have more money than everybody else, but you still feel like you need more because you're afraid it's not enough or that it's going to run out. Or you could feel like there's more than enough out there and it's just waiting for you to pick it up and use it for good. And the cool thing is, you get to choose which thought you're going to have. Which thought are you going to live your life with? This is how you choose, and this is why it works. This is an ancient cycle that's been used and adopted by everyone in the personal development space. Your actions lead to memories or thoughts, and those memories or thoughts lead to desires, either to continue that action or to decrease that action, and emotions about it. And those desires and emotions create actions that perpetuate the cycle. Here are some examples of pretty prominent people who have used this karmic cycle to better explain how to succeed in life. Brooke Castillo is a very successful life coach who built a school, and in her model, she describes something called the model. And the model is that any circumstance, anything that happens around you and affects you creates a thought in your mind. That thought in your mind then creates a feeling in your body. That feeling promotes you to take a certain action. And then that action causes a result. So a standalone circumstance, which is like a fact, like the phone rings, will cause you to think about a thought like, oh my God, why is somebody calling me? Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Or maybe the thought is, I hope that it's my husband or my lover, and I'm super excited and I feel good about that. The feeling is fear, shame, defeat, or it's exhilaration, happiness, love. And then the action is going to depend on what that feeling is. If the feeling is negative, you might answer the phone. You might answer the phone and be super rude, super defensive, not want to talk. If you think that it's a positive thing, you'd answer the phone immediately. You'd feel excited to take the next step. Those are two completely different actions that result in completely different scenarios. And so what she believes is that if you watch and observe all of these different components, then your ability to change the outcome is exponentially higher. And Tony Robbins has a very similar thought process. His is a little bit different because what he says is that in order to get the results that you want, you have to take action. His thing is take massive action all the time. In order to take massive action, you have to be motivated. You have to have some kind of potential that allows the action to happen. And in order to be motivated, you have to have a certain state. You need to believe that you can do it. You need to have an attitude that's positive. You need to have that thought that you want to move forward. And what he says is that most people start with the action. And you've probably heard this as well. If you want to get something done, you have to start doing it, and then you will start to believe it. But what he says is, what if you started believing that it's already true? If you did that, then the potential is already there and the action happens on its own, like a flow of water. Now, the tricky thing about this is that you can't just lie to yourself and say that I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. It doesn't work that way. So there are different ways that you can get around this that we will touch on a little bit later in the presentation. Okay, so with that in mind, I want you to consider, what story are you holding on to right now about your money that involves rules? Is it that you're not good with money, that you don't know how to budget, that you try really hard to budget, but you just can't, that you have no free will, that you have no ability to control yourself, that you're just willy-nilly flying in the wind, that money is bad, that you are bad? All of these things are very, very, very common thoughts about money. And I'm here to tell you that they're all rules. Now, why would you feel that way? Even if you knew that it was the wrong mindset to have, why is it so hard for us to break that pattern? Going back to the explanation, the description of like looking at your bank account and being scared to do it, and then not looking because you're too scared to see how much money is left at the end of the month. The reason why it is so hard to change that thought, and that you have to literally force yourself to do something that you know is good for you, is because your brain and your body have been wired over the entire period of time that we've been humans to not make changes. It's kind of funny because on one hand, with all the knowledge that we know about neuroplasticity, on the other hand, your body doesn't actually want to change unless it's going to benefit it. And sometimes it's hard for your body to really appreciate how the benefit is going to happen. So here you are in your nice, comfy covers, all cuddly, and God forbid that you have to waste any energy to actually change a pathway in your mind and create a new workflow. Like, that is not going to happen. Is it going to save you from dying? Okay, we will change it. If it's not going to save you from dying, then you probably should just stay in bed and stay comfy and cuddly. So here's the thing, though. Your financial wealth and your capacity for money depends on how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and the stories that we have about money and about our place in society. And that's why it's so hard, because come on, it's simple math. You get money in, you put it into certain categories, and then there's no more money. It's out. It should be pretty simple to budget. Why is it that over the lifetime of humanity, we've always been worried about how to budget? It's pretty crazy. The reason why is because of our minds. Maybe these are some of the thoughts that you've had. I don't have any options to change the flow of my money because I don't know how to make money and I'm horrible at budgeting. If this is your thought process, don't worry. It's totally normal. It's a common feeling. The cool thing is that if you're on this call, I know that you're not a common person. You're a super intelligent, ambitious woman, and you deserve to not have these feelings. You deserve to be excited to look at your money, to be one of those people on a reel who calls up their bank and is like, yep, that's my bank account. So in order to get there, I want you to understand the concept of convergent versus divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is what we learn in school. The reason why we learn about convergent thinking, that process, is because it's super easy to grade. There's only one answer. Convergent thinking is a technique and encourages individuals to bring together different pieces of information and attempt to solve a particular problem to get a single answer. Divergent thinking is a thought process or a method used to generate creative ideas by exploring many possible solutions. So, a thought that you might have if you were a divergent thinker would be, I don't know how to make more money, but what if I could learn? How would I do that? And some of the questions that are really helpful in facilitating that sort of brainstorming is, I realize that I cannot do it at this time, but how would I do it if it was 5 years down the line and I'd figured it out? Or how would Warren Buffett do it? How would my neighbor who's super successful with money do it? And just the thought of putting yourself out of your own head and your own situation allows you to start to be creative and think up ideas of how to solve the problem. And so, along the lines, how do you maintain security and peace of mind even when things start to get tight? Now, that's the thing, is that you could know what to do and you could realize that you have to keep an open mind and that you should give yourself a little bit of compassion. But the fact of the matter is, when push comes to shove and you're uncomfortable, what are you supposed to do about that? Well, in the society, what we do is we work on changing our thoughts and our emotions so that we can move on. And we base all of our processes on mindfulness based stress reduction techniques and cognitive behavioral therapy based coaching. I'm just like going to stop and let you know that I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a therapist. I am a coach. So if you need medical attention because of anxiety or any other mental health concern, definitely see a doctor. I just want to put it out there just in case. Coaching is definitely an amazing, amazing thing to get involved with. But the thing with coaching is that it's meant to help you grow and thrive even more. It's not meant to fix a mental problem or an emotion problem that needs actual medical attention. So, with that in mind, what is your money story? Where did it come from? Are you the type of person who grew up in a family that talked about money not growing on trees, that parents were always stressed out about money? Maybe you're come from a relationship where there was a divorce because of money. I certainly know that my significant other has a lot of fears and worries about that. And so observe these facts, observe how you feel about money, what your ideas are about money. How, do you expect money to just grow on trees, or do you expect it to not be there? Do you feel like you have to work really, really hard in order to earn money? Or do you feel like money is just a chess game and you have to figure out the pieces? And then once you understand where you're coming from, then you can come up with a plan to change that paradigm if you need to. All you have to do is figure out how to change your current paradigm so that it makes sense and it serves you. In my experience, the root of all problems with money is this idea of whether you are safe and secure right now and in the future. So I'm going to ask you, before we get into any of the actual strategies, do you feel safe and secure right now? Often your fear about money leads to poor choices. But what are you really afraid of? Are you safe right now? Are you afraid that you're not going to be safe in the future? If you aren't safe right now, would having money actually help you? A lot of the times when I start to feel super stressed about money, I think to myself, I'm living in an amazing house and I have amazing children and I have people to support me and I have a job. So why am I worried about a couple $1,000s or $100? And I think that that's really, for me, is a really grounding place to be is, okay, so I don't have cash flow right now, but I do have I'm sitting on a pile of gold. So how do I rearrange my cash flow so that it feels okay right now? And maybe I have to make some tough decisions that I don't want to make, but I can figure it out. I think that that is one of the most important positions to be in. And I know that both of you ladies live on the call are in the same situation, that you do actually have money. You just feel like you don't, or you feel like you're not going to very soon. And I'm here to tell you that you are amazing and creative and intelligent, and you can totally figure out where to find that money in the future. So let's talk about ways to find money. This is the find money workflow. You can either have easy solutions or you can have our harder solutions. Some easy solutions are, well, you could play the lotto. You could look in your sock drawer. You can check out your jeans pockets. You can check out your car. You can budget. You can plan ahead of time. You can put things off, maybe decide not to join your membership for another month. You can go on a fast. It could be a drinking fast, an eating fast. You don't eat dessert. You don't eat out. You don't buy clothes. You don't buy new purses. It can be a fast, not just about food or drink. Those are easy solutions. You can make that in the snap of a finger. Okay, so I woke up this morning and my friend wants me to go with her to a concert, and the concert costs $100, and I'll probably use $50 on food and drink. Where am I going to find that $150? If it's not in my bank account, where am I going to find it? Am I going to dredge it up somewhere? What am I going to do? Most of the people on this call can easily find an extra dollar or an extra 10 or even an extra 100. Well, an extra 1,000, it's a little bit of a stretch. But the thing is that it's just building blocks. So if you can find 5 different ways to find $100, then you're halfway there. So it's a matter of, when do you give up? When do you give up looking for that money? How hard is it going to be? So harder solutions would be, ask for the money. Ask for the money from your partner or your husband or your parent or your mom or your kids. This is something that particularly women have a really hard time to do. Why is it a bad thing if you ask somebody else who loves you and cares about you and invests in you for some money? It makes you feel guilty. It makes you feel like you're not good at what you do, that you can't control your own money, that you have to ask somebody for help. But maybe that's just growing your pool of money. Another hard thing would be to earn more money. How do you earn more money? Well, you would have to ask your boss for more money. You would have to create something. You would have to sell something. It takes a lot more time and effort. Another hard solution would be to give up something that you really don't want to give up. Maybe kids go to school. Maybe it's your really nice car. Maybe it's a car. These are harder things to give up. But at the end of the day, if you need that money, if you really need to be scrappy, those things are there. Here are 5 streams of money to learn how to take advantage of. The first one is the money that you have, but you're using it for something else. That's deciding that you don't want to go to Starbucks. That's deciding that you don't want that gym membership. Then there's the stuff that you have instead of money. There are so many people out there now that social media is a thing that you can see that have taken literally like wood out of their backyard and sold it and made thousands, like just by getting the junk out of their house and selling it to somebody who actually finds that valuable. And the people who do that, what they actually do is, in order to be extremely successful at it, in order to multiply the amount of value that they're giving, they actually make the stuff into something more valuable. So for instance, if it was somebody who was getting lumber out of their yard, maybe they would cut it into a certain size block, and then they would create a, kit or something in order to use that block for something specific. For instance, there was a woman that I saw on the internet who had found wood. She cut them into like 3-inch blocks. She put them together. I don't even think she used a bow or anything. And she had these 4 blocks, and she took pictures of them where she had pasted pictures on each side and wrapped them with a ribbon. And she said, you can use these blocks and put pictures of your kids on it and then give it to your parents for Mother's Day. Like, she literally sold these blocks for like $20, and she didn't even put the pictures on them. Somebody else put the pictures on them when they bought them. So just being creative about that. How can you make something that's junk to you even more classy for somebody else? And you know what's so cool is that the people that bought them thought that it was a great deal. They hadn't thought about it themselves. The 4th way to find a stream of money is your money pool over time. What does that mean? That means that, as I talked about before, a lot of us are already sitting on a pile of gold and we're just ignoring it. For instance, my 401k. I've been contributing to my 401k since I was young. I never thought about it. I just pulled it out of my payment. I never saw it. I never looked at it. I didn't know it was there. I'm really happy that I did that. I don't know what made me decide to do that because I had no idea what I was doing. The cool thing is that one amazing thing that you can do that a lot of people don't know about is that you can actually borrow from your own 401k instead of pulling the money out. This is an amazing, amazing legal tax-free possibility for you. So instead of just resigning your 401k and getting like 40% or whatever the penalty is, you can actually borrow at a certain percentage, and the certain percentage that you're paying to yourself. And all of this is tax-free. So in a way, you are borrowing your money from the past, and you are also borrowing your money from the future. Now, there are other ways, of course, more obvious ways to borrow money for the future from the future, like credit cards. You're basically borrowing money and you're paying for it in the future. The other interesting way to think about a different stream of money is your money pool over space. And we talked about this a little bit. What I mean is that a lot of people look at money as not just their own little pot, but the pot that they share with other people. And that's what happens when you're a partner in a business. That's what happens when you borrow money from a bank. And most people don't think about it in that way. They think about it as like a weakness because you need another person to help support you. But what if you considered that to be part of a pot that's already yours, your own community pot? Now, because we all value to be able to maintain paying people back and feeling like we're even and everything is fair, the only way that that really works out is that you're exchanging it for something else. So for instance, you're borrowing money for an investment that you know will grow, and then you'll be able to pay that person back with more to spare. Now, if you're borrowing money or being gifted money from a relative or a loved one, they may not want more money back. They may just want to see you thrive. They may just want to see you happy. That's what I do with my kids. I don't expect them to pay me back any of the money that I give them for Roblox. I just want to see them happy and create. And that's enough value for me to want to share my pool with them. So these are the 5 streams of money that I want you to be creative about and consider if that's where you would find your $1,000 or more. Now let's go into a little deeper into this. Diversification fosters stability. So I do not focus on entrepreneurship, but a lot of people who I work with are entrepreneurs or want to become entrepreneurs. The reason why is because entrepreneurship is a major way to diversify your income stream, especially if you're pivoting and you want to do both. The more diverse your income streams are, the more freedom you have to make the choices that you want to make on your own terms. So here are ways to build those types of money streams. The more diverse your income streams, the more freedom you have. So if your only income stream is your W-2 employment, you're dependent on the rules of your boss for financial survival. Similarly, if your only income stream is the money that is coming in from a business that you own with somebody else and you aren't seeing eye to eye, the only thing you can do is get the stream of money that is agreed upon. If you are employed and you have a retirement fund or a pension, then you have the freedom to retire worry-free. That's a huge deal. The fact that you could just decide one day that you don't want to work anymore, that you want to do what you want to do because you've saved for it and it's grown exponentially over time. And that's why it's so important for those younger versions of ourselves to understand that a little bit of money over a long period of time pays off and makes you a millionaire. If you are employed and you have investments that pay dividends, then you have the freedom to work less or buy more stuff. If you're employed and you own your own real estate or a business and you have the opportunity to capitalize on those tax benefits, which are amazing, then you have more control over that money stream. So these are all different ways that you can continue to diversify. I keep pressing the back button. Now, if those things seem like something that you want to start learning more about, these are 5 questions that you need to answer to find those sources. Number 1, what do you love to do? It seems so cliche, but the fact of the matter is if you're going to be working late into the night and all hours of the day, you can't just be doing it for the safety of your children or for that Birkin bag. You really have to love what you're doing because your version of success relies on you being able to be happy at any moment in time. And so even though things are hard, even though you still have to do things that you don't want to do, you need to overall love what you're doing. What are you good at? You want to be able to do something that you're good at, that you can actually bring value to, that you can actually make a change with. What can you create that others find valuable? This is the crux of all business, is that you're creating something that somebody else is finding valuable. Now, in order to scale it, you have to figure out how many people you can find who find that valuable. What do you believe in and what do you want to support? This is something that I didn't really understand when I was younger, but every single thing that you buy, you're basically voting for that thing. If you are buying McDonald's, you are voting that you want that kind of food in your body and you want that company to survive. The cool thing is, if you want to own stock in McDonald's, then you get to choose, like if you want to support that company. This is becoming a lot more obvious as we are moving into a more sort of mindful society where a lot of people want to know where their money is. A lot of people are starting to decide, do I want my stocks to be in Coca-Cola or in a company where they don't mindfully recycle or things like that? And that's really something that I think it makes it a lot more interesting to use your money for those sorts of things, because it's like you're voting with your heart for your values. The last question is, what scares you the most about investing? What is it that like really freaks you out about that? And is that thought true? So here are some examples of investments that pay dividends. It could be yourself. So that would be starting a profitable business, getting a more profitable job, learning to do something new, learning to do something better. Is it investing in help? That's how you scale. Are you asking your family to help you with chores, with money? Are you asking employees to help you, paying them so that they can help you do things that are more worth your time? Are you investing in workflow processes so you don't have to be doing it? Other people, are you investing in stocks like we talked about, in bonds, are you becoming an angel investor? And then other things that you can invest in that pay dividends are trademarks and real estate. All of these things are things that when you use your money for these things, you gain things back. And that's the whole point in becoming wealthy and independent financially, is that you are using your money as much as possible for things that give you dividends back. And that doesn't necessarily have to be financial. So what I want you to know is that this is your story. You get to decide what money means to you, and you get to choose how to use it. And it feels like you don't. It feels like you have no choice. But the fact of the matter is you do. And it's up to you to change that choice, to change that feeling, what things mean to you. And you get to decide, how does this support your own version of success? I want you to stand sentinel to the door to your mind. I want you to remember that your mind is listening to everything around you, to all the advice you're getting, and to the things that you are telling yourself. So, number one, what do you currently believe about money? Two, what assumed rules are you living by that's messing with you? And three, what happens when you, with who you look at or talk about your money? So, what happens? Oh, what happens to you when you look at or talk about your money? So that is pretty much the crux of it. I am going to be giving you a little bit of homework, whether you are moving forward with me or not. The homework is brainstorm where you would find $1,000. I have put together a list of 30 things that you can cut in order to reach your goal. 30 ways to cut $10. So if you did 30 things to cut $10, then think of how much money you would have. In order to find $1,000, you don't necessarily have to find it in one place. So think about that and consider where you would find it and what lengths you would go to in order to reach that $1,000. All over time, people who have been immensely successful have not given up. Just because you only found $30 today doesn't mean that the $1,000 isn't there. It just means that you didn't look hard enough to find it. And that brings me to a quote that I hear a lot from a lot of different people. And it is, I really want to join the So Money Society, but I don't have the money. And what I want to tell you is that if that is your thought, then you really need to join the society, because the fact of the matter is that you do have the money, but you aren't in the mindset to be able to find it. And if you can't put yourself first and join a society that will help you grow to a point where you can't even imagine the amount of wealth, the amount of joy, the amount of fulfillment that you'll get out of it, then how could you possibly find that money? Like, So I just encourage you to take that leap of faith. And hopefully, after this masterclass, you'll be able to find your $1,000, and that will be your first year. So could you address feeling like I don't have the time to generate $1,000? Yes. So having the idea that you don't have enough of anything is called scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset is a really hard thing to get to wrap your mind around, because the fact of the matter is that you don't have it right now. So it's really hard to believe that you actually do, but you're just not smart enough to figure it out. When it comes to time, you always have option as to where you are investing your time. It feels like you don't, but you do. When it comes to money, you always have the options of what to invest in, but you choose to invest in certain things. The difference between time and money is that you only have a finite amount of time in one day, but you have immense amounts of money all around you that you can receive, and you're not taking it from somebody else. So when it comes to time, the most important thing to remember is that you don't have to wake up earlier. You don't have to figure out what you're going to cut in order to do it. You just have to take a look at what you're already using your time on, and if that's important to you. Now, let's just imagine that you look through your whole day and you decide every single thing that you've done is important to you and you can't get rid of it. That's okay. But in order to invest enough time in order to get $1,000, you need to put at least a little bit of thought into it. So what I like to tell people to do is to start just like any habit, start small. Take 10 minutes every day to just allow yourself that quiet moment to think. Because a lot of times we go through our entire day, we are focusing on so many different things at one time, and we're not actually focusing on what is the most important thing to us. So if you feel like you need to find $100 or $1,000 or more, and it's important to you, then you need to spend a little bit of time actually coming up with a plan and getting yourself set in order to do that. So I encourage you to find 10, 15 minutes today, right after this call. Just take 15 minutes to collect your thoughts and brainstorm, where could I start? Where could I start today to find an extra $100? Start small. Start with something that you know you can achieve. And maybe the reason why this fails is because even though it only takes a few minutes, the amount of mental energy it takes to make a decision like that is hard. So for instance, maybe the way that I'm going to save some money is by calling up my credit card company and asking them for a lesser rate. That call might take 10 minutes. Your ability to pick up the phone and do something uncomfortable that feels icky is what's stopping you. It's not the amount of time. And the cool thing is, if you just make yourself do it for like a couple of minutes, then that discomfort goes away because you have the relief that you actually did it and then it made a difference. The reason why I'm talking about this is because 5-6 years ago, that was like my worst fear, was to call a credit card company, even if it was to ask for a lesser rate, something that totally serves me. And I actually had to get forced to do it by somebody else. Like he sat there and he made me call and he watched me while I did it. And it was super embarrassing. It was even more embarrassing because he was there watching me, judging me. But guess what? My rate went from like 14% to 12% at that time. That's a big difference. Is that a satisfying answer to you?
Oh, yeah, I'm muted. Yes, I think so. I think just starting small, because I can think of a bunch of things that I could do to generate even, like a couple $100, but it's just kind of getting over that feeling of overwhelm of all the other things that I have to do, because, I'm juggling a lot of balls at the same time.
Yes,
But yeah,
absolutely.
I'll just
So
get
the
started.
key is to, yes, get started, start with something small so that you can actually gain a win from it. And coaching really, really helps with this because a lot of times you need to change your perspective in order to overcome that hurdle of disappointment or discomfort
Mhm.
more than disappointment. So, um, for instance, like I wake up in the morning, I have like 6 things that I want to do right away. And one of them is, oh, I will give you an example from my own life. I have a recurring membership that I cannot cancel. I can't cancel it because the company does not know where my account is. They can't search by my credit card number and they keep charging me and they don't know how to cancel it. So, how am I supposed to get rid of that? That is a $39 a month membership.
Mhm.
So, every morning I come up with one way that I'm going to try to solve this problem. And in order for me to like actually feel like I want to do it instead of, oh God, like I so don't want to do that, I use this little trick. So, in my own paradigm of what my version of success is, part of it is that like I'm a total badass. So that makes me feel good. Like when I do something and I'm like, I just killed it, I'm a total badass. That's like success. Like I feel great about that. You can choose whatever it is for you. But for me, it's like, I just blew my own mind. So what I think is, okay, I am going to do something that's really hard for me right now that makes me feel uncomfortable that I don't want to do. And when I finish, I'm going to pat myself on the back because I did something hard and I'm a badass. So that's like what convinces me to make that switch to use those few minutes because usually it's not that long period of time. And just think to yourself, like, if I had to do something that took 10 minutes that would give me $10 in rewards, would I do it? Okay, well, maybe not. Like maybe $10 isn't enough. Maybe $100 isn't enough. Maybe $1,000 is enough, but maybe you don't believe that you'll actually get that return back. What if it was $1 million? Somebody was going to give you $1 million and all you had to do was sit there and like get pricked with a pin and it was uncomfortable or get a leg cramp. Like, would you do it? Of course you would do it. You would sit through it. You would do the ice bath, whatever it was, and you would get the $1 million. So if you, number one, believe that you actually are going to get that reward, and number two, understand that you're going to go through some discomfort and that that's okay, then you'll make it through. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it did. I'm just going to get started and figure out how to cancel my farm box. Maybe
Yes.
it's one of those things like you look at the website and you're like, there is no option to cancel this stupid box. I can still customize it, but I can't cancel it.
You are
So,
in the same position as me. Your superpower lies in finding out who can solve your problem.
okay.
So just look on that website, find an email or a phone number or a text message, like a comment chat, and
Mhm.
just keep pushing like
Keep going.
operator, 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 operator. And worst comes to worst, you can cancel it through your bank.
Okay.
Yeah. It's harder that way. They're going to make you turn around and try to go to the vendor.
Okay.
Do that
Awesome.
today, right now.
I'm doing it.
Do it.
Thank you.
All right. So, Christine, if I convinced you to join the society, which I think you really should, and we can get coaching on finding the money for you, um, it's on my website, www.sheismoney.com. And I'm also going to send out a follow up email with the replay and with how to join if you are ready. And if you're not, it's okay.
I'm in it, right?
That's so awesome. Can I use that as a as a
Absolutely.
quote? That is so awesome.
Absolutely. I think what's really helpful is that it's it's a it's a smallish group, but it because I actually have coaches in different spots, but I think it kind of pulls together a lot of different things like the entrepreneurship, the like high earner that has like too many things on her plate, the need to slow down and practice mindfulness strategies, and also coaching. I think it just kind of brings it all together.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. I love
I think
you.
so too. I'm glad I found you.
Oh, that warms my heart. That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
I think I need a nap now.
Yeah, you've been going. She went to the society meeting this morning, so you've been
Mhm.
going for a while.
Yeah.
All right, my
Thank you so
dears. Well,
much.
I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that it was helpful. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. Like Karen said, the society is in such a sweet spot right now because I I am getting ready to actually raise my prices for private coaching, but right now my prices are around 400 an hour. And a lot of times in the society, you get that coaching for free just because of your membership.
Yeah.
So thank you, ladies. I hope you have an amazing, amazing weekend.
Thank you. You too. See you
Love
later.
you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, bye.